What if I told you that some of the most nutritious vegetables on earth aren't in any supermarket? They're not in your raised garden bed. They're not at the farmer's market. They're growing wild in your lawn right now, and you're paying money to kill them. Plants that fed Native Americans for thousands of years, that kept European peasants alive through famines, that Aztec emperors ate while their farmers grew them by the ton. Most people walk past these plants every single day. We mow over them, we spray them, we pull them out of cracks in the sidewalk and toss them in the trash. Meanwhile, we drive to the grocery store, pay $6 for a bag of organic spinach, and bring it home in a plastic bag. And here's what's wild. Modern phytochemistry has confirmed that gram for gram, half the plants in your backyard right now have more nutrition than anything you'll buy on a produce shelf. Today I'm going to show you 19 of them. 19 edible weeds growing wild in lawns and ditches and abandoned lots all across America. Plants you've probably been killing for years without realizing what they actually are. Stick around, because number 14 on this list is the grain that fed an entire empire. Spanish conquistadors literally burned its fields trying to wipe it out, and it survived to grow in your cornfield this very summer. And number 19, it's the plant Americans spend over $3 billion a year trying to kill. And modern nutrition data confirms it's more nutritionally dense than any vegetable you can buy in a supermarket. Hit subscribe before we get into it. We drop new videos every week that'll change the way you look at the plants growing right under your feet. Let's get started. Here are 19 edible weeds hiding in your backyard, ranked from impressive to absolutely incredible. Number 1, plantain. Not the banana-like fruit, the low-growing weed with oval-ribbed leaves that you've stepped over 1,000 times. Native Americans called this plant white man's footprint because it seemed to spring up everywhere European settlers walked. Plantago major spreads on disturbed soil, lawns, trails, sidewalk cracks, and it's one of the most universally recognized edible plants on Earth. Modern reviews of plantain chemistry have confirmed what village healers always knew. The leaves are packed with allantoin, aucubin, and mucilage compounds, the same anti-inflammatory and tissue-regenerating substances that pharmaceutical wound creams now copy synthetically. Studies of Plantago extracts have documented genuine wound healing and antimicrobial effects. Here's how people used it traditionally. Crush a fresh leaf. Apply directly to bee stings, splinters, minor cuts. The mucilage helps draw out venom, and the compounds reduce inflammation within minutes. The young leaves go raw into salads, older leaves cooked like spinach. Plantain got forgotten because it's the most common weed in American lawns. We've been trained to think anything growing where we didn't plant it must be a problem. Think of it as the Trailside first aid kit that follows you wherever you walk, completely free, completely effective, and completely overlooked. Number 2, chickweed. Stellaria media, tiny white star-shaped flowers, sprawling stems that hug the ground. There's a perfect identification trick. Chickweed has a single line of fine hairs running along just one side of its stem, and that line switches sides at every leaf node. No other lawnweed does this. Modern phytochemistry has confirmed chickweed contains saponins, vitamin C, and a range of B vitamins at concentrations that exceed many cultivated salad greens. The saponins are what give it that subtle, bitter undertone, and they're the same class of compounds traditional herbalists associated with chickweed's mild lymphatic and skin-soothing effects. Here's how it was traditionally used. Fresh leaves and stems eaten raw in salads. On sandwiches blended into pesto, the taste is mild, fresh, slightly sweet, like a more delicate version of corn silk. Chickweed got forgotten because most people see it as a delicate, weak-looking weed and don't realize it's actually one of the most nutritious salad greens you can grow. It's like spinach's smaller, more delicate cousin, except you don't have to plant it, and it shows up in cool weather when nothing else is growing. Number 3, wood sorrel. Oxalis stricta, 3 heart-shaped leaflets that look almost identical to clover, except the leaflets are heart-shaped instead of round. Bite into one and you'll understand why generations of kids have called it the lemonade leaf. It's bright, citrus-tangy, refreshingly sour. Studies of Oxalis species have documented vitamin C levels comparable to citrus and a range of polyphenol antioxidants. The signature sour bite, that's oxalic acid, which is why this plant earned its name. The chemistry is what makes it useful, but the same chemistry is why moderation matters. Eat handfuls, not bowls, and skip it if you have kidney issues. Traditionally, the leaves are nibbled raw straight off the plant, brewed into a refreshing lemon-flavored tea, used as a fresh garnish on fish or salads, or blended into wild herb sauces. Yellow flowers that follow are also edible. Wood sorrel got forgotten because everyone assumes it's clover, and most people don't bother tasting clover. Think of it as nature's lemon zest, already growing wild, already perfectly portioned in tiny leaves, already free. Number 4. Wild violet. Viola sororia, heart-shaped leaves rising from the ground in a low rosette, topped with purple flowers in early spring. Modern phytochemical research has confirmed that violet leaves and flowers contain salicylates, natural compounds related to aspirin, along with notably high concentrations of vitamins A and C, plus mucilage and flavonoid antioxidants. The salicylates are why traditional medicine prescribed violet preparations for headaches, fevers, and inflamed skin long before pharmacology had a word for the chemistry. Here's how people used it traditionally. Victorian cooks candied the flowers in sugar to decorate cakes. Herbalists steeped the leaves into spring tonics to fight off winter scurvy. Young leaves go into salads, slightly mucilaginous like okra. Fresh flowers float beautifully in lemonade and tea. Wild violet got forgotten because we put it in the ornamental mental category and never reconsidered. Lawn care companies see it as invasive ground cover. Almost nobody sees it as food. It's like having a bouquet of multivitamins blooming in your shade garden every March. Completely free. Number 5. Henbit, Lamium amplexicol. Square stems give it away as a member of the mint family. Small purple flowers in whorls, round scalloped leaves that clasp the stem. What makes henbit special is timing. It's one of the very first edible greens in spring, often coming up while everything else is still dormant. Recent plant analyses have confirmed henbit is loaded with vitamins, iron, and a profile of antioxidant flavonoids, and the mint family essential oils give it the same gentle anti-inflammatory effects as its more famous cousins thyme and oregano. Reviews of traditional folk medicine describe henbit being used for joint stiffness and digestive complaints, exactly the uses modern research is now beginning to validate. Tender stems and leaves are mild, slightly sweet, perfectly edible raw in salads or quickly sautéed. It's nutritious, abundant, and free, at exactly the moment when last year's stored food is running out. Henbit got forgotten because by the time most people are paying attention to their gardens in May, henbit has already finished its season and gone to seed. It's the first green of the year, the plant that breaks winter's grip while you're still cooking from the freezer. Number 6. Common mallow, Malva neglectaround. Scalloped leaves, small pale pink flowers, and most distinctively, little wheel-shaped seed pods that look like tiny wheels of cheese, which is exactly what European peasants called them. Modern research has confirmed what Mediterranean grandmothers always knew. Mallow's polysaccharide mucilages, the slippery compounds you can feel in the leaves, have been documented in pharmacological reviews to soothe inflamed mucous membranes throughout the digestive and respiratory tracts. The plant is still used in European herbal medicine for sore throats and dry coughs for exactly this reason. Every single part of this plant is edible: leaves, flowers, seeds, even the roots. Leaves are mild and thicken soups beautifully. Seed pods can be eaten like miniature snap peas. Mallow is still eaten in Turkish, Egyptian, and Lebanese cuisine today. Mallow got forgotten in America because we never had a peasant cuisine that taught us how to eat it. The plant came over with European settlers, escaped into lawns, and we forgot it was food. Think of it as the original survival vegetable. Every part edible, grows everywhere, and quietly fed civilizations for centuries while we walked past it. Number 7. Pineapple weed, Matricaria discoidea. Crush the small green cone-shaped flower heads between your fingers, and you'll know immediately why it's called what it is. It smells distinctly of pineapple. This plant grows in the most compacted, abused soil imaginable: sidewalk cracks, gravel driveways, parking lot edges, and it's a close relative of chamomile. Matricaria compounds have been studied for decades. Chamomile's calming effects come from mazoline, bisabolol, and apigenin, and pineapple weed contains the same family of compounds at meaningful levels. Modern research validates what street herbalists discovered. This is essentially free chamomile growing in pavement cracks. Traditional use is dead simple. Pick a handful of flower heads, dry them on a paper towel for a couple of days, and brew them like tea. Delicately sweet, fragrant, and calming, exactly like its more famous cousin. But harvested for free, pineapple weed got forgotten because it doesn't have showy white petals like real chamomile. It looks plain. People walk over it without a second thought. It's the free chamomile, growing in places where nothing else will. The most patient, polite weed I know. Number 8. Wild garlic. Allium vinale. Tall, hollow, round green leaves coming straight up out of the lawn in dense clumps. The identification rule is non-negotiable. Crush a leaf between your fingers and smell. If it smells distinctly of garlic or onion, it's allium, and it's edible. If there's no garlic smell, do not eat it. Toxic lookalikes, including lily of the valley and death camas, have no garlic smell, and the smell test is what separates safe from dangerous. Allium chemistry is some of the most studied in modern phytomedicine. Wild garlic produces the same sulfur compounds, allicin, allandiol disulfide, that drive the cardiovascular and antimicrobial effects documented across hundreds of studies on cultivated garlic. The wild plant doesn't just resemble garlic. It's chemically the same family. Once confirmed, treat it like garlic. Bulbs as garlic substitutes. Leaves as scallion or chive substitutes, fresh, pungent, free. Wild garlic got forgotten because lawn care companies treat it as a pest. Modern Americans pay landscapers to kill the only free garlic plant most of us will ever encounter. Think of it as the spice rack growing in your lawn, provided you remember the smell test every single time. Number 9. Garlic mustard. Olearia petiolata. Triangular scallop leaves, small 4-petaled white flowers, and crushed leaves that smell distinctly of garlic. Here's what makes garlic mustard fascinating. It's one of the most aggressive invasive species in eastern North America. Conservation groups host pulling parties every spring trying to control it. Eating garlic mustard is literally an act of environmental service. Modern chemical ecology research has documented exactly how this plant works. It produces glucosinolate compounds, the same chemical family that gives mustard, horseradish, and wasabi their bite, and those compounds actively suppress soil fungi that native plants depend on. The biology that makes garlic mustard a problem in forests is the same biology that makes it pesto ready in your kitchen. Young leaves make a fantastic pesto. Substitute it for basil, add olive oil, parmesan, walnuts, and you have a sauce somehow better than the original. The roots taste like horseradish. Garlic mustard got forgotten because invasion biologists frame it purely as a problem. We pull it and bag it and throw it away, instead of pulling it and putting it in a food processor. It's the rare weed where eating more of it actually helps the planet. Quick pause. If you're starting to look at your lawn differently right now, if you're realizing how much free, nutritious food has been growing under your feet your whole life, do me a favor and hit that like button. It tells the algorithm to send this video to other people who are tired of paying premium prices for spinach when there's better food growing in their own grass. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button and ring the bell. We're building a community of people who are done outsourcing their food to corporations. People who'd rather know 10 free plants in their backyard than 10 brand names in a grocery aisle. All right, let's keep going, because the next 10 plants are even more abundant, and the last 3 are absolutely incredible. Number 10. Yellow dock. Rumex crispus, long curly-edged leaves in a basal rosette, and in summer, tall reddish-brown seed stalks that you've definitely seen along roadsides without knowing what they were. Modern reviews describe yellow dock root as a source of anthraquinones, natural compounds with documented mild laxative and liver-supporting effects, along with iron in unusually bioavailable form, plus tannins and polyphenols. Traditional herbalists have used it as a blood tonic for centuries, and modern chemistry confirms the chemistry behind the folk reputation. 2 harvests in 1 plant. Young leaves are slightly bitter cooked greens, useful, not exciting. The seeds, those tall reddish stalks, are the real prize. Strip them off, winnow the chaff, and you've got a small protein-rich grain you can grind into flour. People made bread from yellow dock seeds during the Irish famine and the American Dust Bowl. Yellow dock got forgotten because the seeds require processing, and the leaves are bitter compared to spinach. It's a survival plant, not a luxury plant. Think of it as the famine flower growing in every roadside ditch, patient and quiet, waiting for the day we remember what it can do. Number 11. Burdock. Arctium lapa. First-year plants are huge fuzzy leaves rising from a deep taproot. Second year sends up flower stalks that produce the famous burrs. The burrs that, in 1941, gave a Swiss engineer named George de Mestral the idea for Velcro after they got stuck in his dog's fur. But the food value is in that first-year root. Japanese researchers have published extensively on burdock root chemistry. It's high in inulin, a prebiotic fiber that feeds gut bacteria, plus arctogenin and other lignin compounds with documented antioxidant effects. Studies of burdock root have explored its effects on blood sugar, inflammation, and skin conditions, validating much of the traditional reputation. In Japan, it's called gobo, considered a superfood, sold in expensive bundles in upscale grocery stores. Earthy, slightly sweet, perfect simmered in soy sauce, or simmered into miso soup. You're walking past free Japanese gobo every time you walk past a vacant lot. Burdock got forgotten because the mature plant, the burr-covered second-year plant, looks like a quintessential weed. We never realized the first-year root was hiding underneath. It's the most expensive Japanese vegetable in the produce aisle, growing for free in any disturbed soil. Number 12. Shepherd's purse. Capsella bursa pastores, small basal rosette of toothed leaves, tiny white four-petaled flowers, and most distinctively, heart-shaped seed pods that look like the leather purses medieval shepherds wore. Modern pharmacology has confirmed shepherd's purse contains compounds, peptides, flavonoids, and a thrombic active substance that genuinely promote blood clotting and act on smooth muscle tissue. Reviews of traditional Chinese medicine still cite it for postpartum bleeding, and laboratory data backs the centuries of folk use. During World War I, when traditional pharmaceutical hemostatics ran short, German military medics used shepherd's purse extracts as a substitute. It's also a peppery, mustard-flavored salad green similar to arugula but milder. Young leaves are delicious raw, perfect tossed into salads or layered onto a sandwich. Shepherd's purse got forgotten because the plant is small and unremarkable. It doesn't catch your eye. It just quietly does its work in the corners of fields. It's the wartime medic that turned out to also taste pretty good in a salad. Number 13. Stinging nettle. Urtica dioica. Serrated heart-shaped leaves, square stems, and tiny stinging hairs that deliver an instant, memorable burn if you touch them barehanded. Wear gloves. That's Rule 1. Rule 2. The moment you cook nettles or dry them, the stinging compound completely deactivates. Modern clinical research on stinging nettle is unusually deep for a wild plant. Published studies document its effects on inflammatory markers, urinary symptoms in older men, and seasonal allergic rhinitis. The protein content alone, around 25% by dry weight, would make it a notable food, and the iron, calcium, vitamin K, and B vitamins stack on top of that. Nettle is one of the most nutritionally dense greens on earth. Cook them into soups, blend them into smoothies, dry them into tea. The Romans wove cloth from nettle fiber, and nettle linen was used in Europe for centuries before cotton arrived. Stinging nettle got forgotten because Americans grew up afraid of the sting and never learned what's on the other side of a glove and a pot of boiling water. It's the plant that punishes you for 30 seconds and feeds you for a lifetime. Number 14. Wild Amaranth, Amaranthus retroflexus. Sometimes called pigweed. Oval, slightly fuzzy leaves, often with a red-tinged stem, and in late summer, a thick spike of tiny green and red flowers at the top. This is the plant I teased at the beginning. Modern nutritional studies have confirmed what Aztec elders knew. Amaranth seeds contain all 9 essential amino acids, including lysine, the amino acid wheat is famously deficient in, making them what nutritionists call a complete protein. The leaves have one of the most complete vitamin and mineral profiles of any green researchers have measured. Phytochemical reviews also document squalene and tocotrienols in the seeds, compounds being studied for cardiovascular benefits. Amaranth was foundational to the Aztec Empire alongside corn and beans, fed millions for centuries. Spanish conquistadors banned it because of its religious significance and burned amaranth fields as part of conquest. The plant survived only because farmers grew it secretly mixed with other crops. Smuggled across centuries, wild amaranth got forgotten in America because we inherited the colonial dismissal of indigenous grains. Cornfield farmers in Iowa pull amaranth out as a weed every summer, never knowing they're pulling the plant that fed an empire. It's the grain that survived a 500-year suppression, and it's still growing in any disturbed soil you walk past. Number 15. Lamb's Quarters, Chenopodium album. Diamond-shaped leaves, with a distinctive white powdery coating on the underside, especially on young leaves. Stems often striped with red or magenta. Nutritional analyses have consistently ranked lamb's quarters above cultivated spinach for iron, calcium, and protein, with notable levels of vitamins A, C, and K. Like its cousin quinoa, the seeds contain a range of essential amino acids, including lysine. The same family chemistry that built the Andean grain civilization is quietly growing in cornfields right now. Cooked lamb's quarters taste like a slightly heartier version of spinach. Saute it, fold it into lasagna, blend it into a green smoothie. The seeds harvested in fall can be cooked like quinoa. Lamb's quarters got forgotten because it looks like a generic garden weed. Most farmers know it's edible. Old-timers will eat it from their own fields. But it never made the jump to mainstream food. It's spinach's wild older cousin, quietly outperforming the supermarket version while we pull it out of our gardens. Number 16. Cattail, Typha latifolia. The tall sword-like leaves and brown sausage-shaped flower spikes that grow in any wet ditch, pond edge, or roadside swale across most of North America. Military and government survival manuals consistently list cattail as the single most useful wild food plant in North America. Naturalists call it the supermarket of the swamp. Nutritional analyses across cattail parts have documented a remarkable spread. The rhizomes are roughly 80% carbohydrate by dry weight, calorie-rich starch comparable to potatoes. The pollen runs around 30% protein and is rich in amino acids. The young shoots provide vitamins, fiber, and meaningful minerals. Modern food chemistry confirms what indigenous peoples figured out independently around the northern hemisphere. This single species is one of the most efficient calorie sources in any temperate wetland. 5 separate harvests across the season. Young shoots like asparagus in spring. Young flower heads cooked like corn on the cob. Pollen as high-protein flour for pancakes. Rhizomes as starchy winter food. Seed fluff as tinder and insulation. Cattail got forgotten because Americans don't think of wetlands as food sources. It's not a weed. It's an entire grocery store growing in standing water, and almost nobody is shopping there. Number 17. Acorns, the nuts of oak trees. Quercus species. The white oak group has the lowest tannins and the best flavor, but with proper processing, almost any acorn is edible. Modern food chemistry has documented acorn nutrition in detail. They're high in healthy monounsaturated fats, complex carbohydrates, and protein, with calorie density approaching that of corn or wheat once leached. Research on Korean dotorimuk acorn jelly has confirmed acorn flour as a viable, gluten-free source of nutrition with documented antioxidant properties from the residual polyphenols. Civilizations were built on acorns. California Native Americans relied on them as their primary calorie source for thousands of years. The catch is processing. Raw acorns are full of bitter tannins that cause stomach upset. You have to leach them, grinding the nuts and rinsing the meal repeatedly with water, or boiling water changes until the bitterness is gone. Then you grind the leached meal into a rich, slightly sweet, protein and fat-dense flour. Acorns got forgotten because the leaching takes time, and modern wheat is faster. Convenience won, but for a tree that drops free, dense, complete nutrition every fall, sometimes hundreds of pounds per tree, acorns remain quietly miraculous. The original wheat, still falling from oaks every autumn while we drive past. Number 18. Purslane, Portulaca oleracea, sprawling succulent with reddish stems and small paddle-shaped fleshy leaves. Grows in cracks in driveways and vegetable garden beds, in any sunny disturbed soil. Here's what makes purslane extraordinary. Of all green plants studied to date, purslane has the highest known content of alpha-linolenic acid, the plant form of omega-3 fatty acids, documented in cardiovascular and brain health research. Published nutritional analyses also confirm vitamin A, vitamin C, magnesium, potassium, and a range of antioxidant betalains stacked into a single succulent leaf. Modern reviews repeatedly describe purslane as one of the most nutritionally dense leafy greens on Earth. It tastes mildly lemony, slightly salty, with a satisfying crunch. Perfect raw in salads, on tacos, and cucumber yogurt dishes. It's a staple of Greek, Turkish, Mexican, and Persian cuisines. Americans are practically the only ones who don't eat it. Purslane got forgotten in America because Mediterranean and Middle Eastern food cultures never fully transferred. Suburban Americans pull purslane out of garden beds without realizing they're throwing away the most nutritious salad green in the world. It's the supplement aisle, growing in your driveway crack, and the rest of the world has been laughing at us for decades while they ate it for free. Number 19. Dandelion, Taraxacum officinale. The plant I saved for last because it represents everything we've gotten wrong about lawn weeds. Yellow flowers, jagged tooth-edged leaves. The French called the leaves Dandelion, lion's tooth, which is where the English name comes from. Hollow stems with white milky sap. Modern phytochemistry has confirmed every part of dandelion is loaded with bioactive compounds. The root contains taraxacin, taraxasterol, and high concentrations of inulin, the prebiotic fiber documented to support gut bacteria and bile flow. The leaves consistently outscore commercial spinach for vitamin K, vitamin A, calcium, and iron in published nutritional analyses. Reviews of clinical and preclinical research describe documented effects on liver function, digestion, and blood sugar regulation, validating much of the centuries-old folk reputation. Every part is edible, young leaves raw or cooked, flowers into wine, fritters, infused honey, roots roasted into a coffee substitute that's been used for centuries. Here's what gets me. Americans spend over $3 billion a year on lawn care products and services. A substantial portion of that spending goes specifically toward killing dandelions. $3 billion to eradicate the most nutritionally dense lawn plant in the recorded history of North America. Dandelion got forgotten not because it's rare. It got forgotten because we declared a war on it that has lasted 3 generations. A war we've never paused long enough to ask whether we should still be fighting. It's the medicine and the food, and the symbol and the lesson, all in one plant that comes back every spring, no matter how hard we try to kill it. The dandelion is patient. It will outlast every herbicide. In the moment we remember what it actually is, the war ends, and lunch begins. That's 19 edible weeds growing wild in your backyard right now, for free, every single year, whether you plant them or not. If this video changed the way you look at your lawn, smash that like button. It tells YouTube to show this to other people who deserve to know what they've been killing. Drop a comment below. Which weed are you going to try first? Are you Team Trail Toph, Plantain, Chickweed, Dandelion? Team Wild Greens, Lamb's Quarters, Amaranth, Purslane? Or Team Survival Calories, Acorns, Cattail, Burdock? I read every single comment, and I love hearing which plants you're starting with. And one last thing, before you eat any wild plant, please be 100% certain of your identification. Use multiple sources. When in doubt, leave it out. The plants in this video are common and well documented, but mistakes happen, and the responsibility for what you put in your mouth is always yours. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you in the next video.